The one station for South Florida information. News Talk 850 WFTL.
This next segment is for those of you in business in South Florida, be you a business owner, a business manager, a sales manager, a secondary level manager, whatever the case may be. I think most of us whose income is tied directly to the flexing economy we're very happy to say goodbye to 2008 with better hopes for 2009. But there are some out there saying 2009 could be just as bad, if not worse, than 2008 when it comes to retail business in particular out there. More and more retail chains are expected to join, as we mentioned earlier, KB Toys, Linens and Things, and Bombay Company closing their doors. And even retailers that stay in business are expected to cut back on the brick and mortar stores to downsize to even smaller. So what should you do if you're trying to hang on right now, and just how bad is it going to get? Joining us this morning is Tom Harpointner. He's the CEO of AIS Media. It's a leading e-business solutions provider. You may have seen him on CNN or Fox Business News or CNBC or Bloomberg. Joining us live this morning. Tom, how are you? And thanks for getting up early with us.
Good morning, Russ. How are you?
Good. Let's talk about the current situation and businesses going out there. A lot of them teetering on bankruptcy or closing their doors. What do you see for 2009?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. 2009 is going to be a challenging year for any size company, and for those who are going to survive, I think the internet is going to be a very large part, simply because it's a lot easier of a medium to get the word out, and it's a lot more cost effective than many traditional forms of advertising, like direct mail, for instance.
Well, one of the things I see a lot of businesses, particularly here in South Florida, do is reducing store floor size. They're downsizing their brick and mortar stores. A little Blockbuster in my neighborhood cut its store in half and run it out the other side to a mattress company or something. Is that what we're going to see as well, or some of these stores just not be able to afford that lease? And do you find the people, the leaseholders, being a little more flexible in what they're charging some of these retailers?
They most definitely are. I mean, retail space is very expensive. It's not just the space itself, but the cost of employees, keeping that store open, and one of the biggest factors is the fact that in a retail store, people are going to come visit from maybe a 5 to maybe a 20-mile radius. So even with the best of marketing, people are not driving hundreds of miles to come to a retail location. So what many retailers have done is scale back their brick and mortar locations and focus. They're really focusing more on their web presence, because with a website, I mean, let's face it, websites open 24/7. You don't need the same type of staff to keep a website open, and you can attract customers from all over the country, regardless of the size of business that you're operating. So it is very common right now for companies to close retail locations that aren't performing. Like the Gap closed over 85 stores nationwide. So has Talbot's. Over 5,800 retail stores closed their locations in 2008 alone, and I think we're going to see more of that in 2009.
Well, Thomas, this is Mike from the newsroom. That's where I wanted to go next. When the first really horrible retail numbers started coming out around the holidays, we were hearing experts on some of the business shows saying the U.S. is 20% over-stored. And I'm sure you've been in establishments like I have and wondered to yourself, even when times were good, how do these people stay in business? Are all those types going to be gone?
Well, they won't all be gone, because many shoppers, of course, still very much enjoy the personal experience and the physical contact of walking into the store, making a purchase, interacting with the sales staff. But reality is that the summer months last year were tough. Fuel prices went through the roof. So many consumers, they decided to use their computers. They let their fingers do the walking. When it comes especially to doing research for products, rather than visiting 3 different stores to play with digital cameras, consumers turn to the internet to do their market research there. And once they made up their mind or narrowed down their choices, at that point, many of them still, of course, did go to a retail store to play with that camera before making that purchase. That's what I think we're going to continue to find this year. It just doesn't make sense to drive across town back and forth when you can get on a computer, get the information that you need, and then have the option of being able to have that product delivered to your front door, or the option of going to the store and picking it up, firsthand.
Tom, you're coming obviously from an internet perspective on this, but I've got a couple of business owner friends who are a little reluctant to get really involved in this for the simple fact that, number one, the cost of promotion to get it out there that they are retailing online, and the search engine costs, are those coming down a little bit to get up there in that top that front page when you search online for, say, kayaks or something?
Well, the costs have come down so tremendously. 10 years ago, we were building e-commerce websites where, every aspect of the site was customized. Today, most of that software that's required to establish a professional online store already exists. So instead of having to spend $30,000, companies are now spending $3,000 to $5,000 to get an online store up and running. As far as promoting that online store, of course, once you build it, people don't just magically come. It does have to be marketed. But, when you consider the cost of a single full-time employee, and being able to shave that person out of the equation, if a company allocates even a fraction of that to online marketing, there's a tremendous amount of online marketing that a business can get for $10,000 to $15,000 annually. Email is less than a penny per email to send out. Postal mail costs 42 cents a stamp. So, how are stores promoting their brick and mortar locations these days? If they're sending out circulars or running ads in newspapers, it's still a lot less expensive to promote that store online than it is via postal mail.
And of course, radio is a great medium to promote those too, right? Right, Tom?
Well, you bet.
Okay, thanks.
The companies that are most successful, they're using multiple channels to drive traffic to the store. Companies are using radio and television to drive traffic to their websites. We've seen that during the Super Bowl, commercials that promote websites. And then, of course, we also have online advertising and marketing like email that companies are using to drive in-store traffic. During the holidays, stores send out email to drive traffic, foot traffic to their stores. So it does go both ways. The companies that have the biggest advantage, they do have a multi-channel marketing strategy. It's not just a single approach.
Thomas, one last quick one for me. What do stores do to combat this problem? People will go to a store, make the salesperson spend a half hour showing them every camera in the price range they want. They say, thanks, I'll think about it. Then they go home and look for the cheapest price online. How can the brick and mortar stores battle that?
Well, what's happening right now, many consumers are already using the web as their primary point of research. So by the time they go into the store, many of them have already narrowed down their choices and made up their minds. So the best way to combat that is to have a very effective professional web presence to begin with. So the website becomes the first point of contact, not the last point of contact. Something that we're going to be battling with in the near future is that customers are not just going to go waste a salesperson's staff and then go home and make the purchase, but they're literally using their iPhones and their BlackBerries in the store to do price comparison. So, these stores do have to have competitive prices, if they want to keep those customers loyal.
I've seen that happen. All right, Tom, give us your website real quick.
Our website at AIS Media is simply www.aismedia.com.
Cool. Tom Harpointner, the CEO of AIS Media on News Talk 850 WFTL. Thanks for your time this morning.
News Talk 850 WFTL.
AIS Media is an award-winning multinational internet marketing company providing world-class proprietary internet solutions directly and through our global partner network of certified e-business solutions providers.